The crystal towers of Ethros caught the dying light of 3 suns, casting rainbow patterns across the floating city. Far below, toxic seas churned against the energy shields that kept their world safe. Zara knelt beside an empty crib, her translucent blue skin shimmering with tears that fell like liquid diamonds. Her daughter Nira had been lost in the transport accident 3 days ago. The official reports declared her dead, dissolved in the acid storms that raged beneath their city. But Zara refused to believe it. She sang the old lullabies anyway, her voice echoing through the empty nursery chamber. The door chimed softly. Zara didn't look up, expecting another grief counselor or well-meaning neighbor. Instead, heavy footsteps approached, different from the light tread of her people. Zara, of the Crystal House? She raised her head. A human stood in her doorway, tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair and kind brown eyes. His environmental suit was muddy and torn, as if he'd crawled through the deepest caverns of their world. In his arms, wrapped in a thermal blanket, was a small form. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm with the Human Rescue Division. His voice was gentle, but urgent. I found your daughter. Zara's heart stopped. The bundle in his arms stirred, and she saw a tiny hand emerge from the blanket. Fingers that glowed with the same soft luminescence as her own. Nira? She whispered. Marcus stepped forward and carefully placed the child in her mother's arms. Nira's eyes fluttered open, revealing the same deep violet irises as Zara's. The little girl was thin and pale, but alive. Wonderfully, impossibly alive. Zara clutched her daughter to her chest, feeling the child's weak heartbeat against her own. How? She breathed. The acid storms. The report said ... The transport pod's emergency systems activated before it fell, Marcus explained, kneeling beside them. She was sealed in a survival chamber for 3 days. I followed the distress beacon through the crystal caverns beneath the city. Why would you risk that? Zara asked, studying his weathered face. Your people don't usually venture into the deep caves. Marcus smiled, and something warm flickered in his eyes. Every child deserves to be with their mother, no matter what species they are. Zara felt something shift inside her chest. Not just gratitude, but something deeper. This human had risked his life for her daughter, a child he'd never met, from a species he barely knew. She needs medical attention, Marcus continued. Dehydration, exposure, but she's strong. She fought to stay alive, as if responding to his words. Nira made a soft cooing sound and reached up to touch her mother's face. Zara laughed through her tears, the sound like crystal bells in the wind. Thank you, she said to Marcus, meaning it more than she'd ever meant anything. Thank you for bringing her home. Marcus nodded, but his expression grew serious. There's something else. The caverns are unstable. More pods fell than your government reported. There might be other survivors down there. Zara's eyes widened. Other children? Possibly. But the crystal formations are shifting. If we're going to search for them, it has to be now. Zara looked down at Nira, then back at Marcus. Despite her daughter's ordeal, she couldn't bear the thought of other families suffering as she had. I know those caverns better than anyone, she said firmly. I'm coming with you. The dangerous journey, the descent into the crystal caverns, was treacherous. Ancient formations jutted from walls like frozen lightning, their surfaces sharp enough to cut through environmental suits. Marcus led the way, his headlamp cutting through the ethereal glow of the crystal veins. Behind him, Zara carried Nira in a specialized pouch that kept the child warm and safe. The temperature drops fast down here, Marcus warned, his breath visible in the cooling air. Your people usually avoid these depths. For good reason, Zara replied, stepping carefully around a cluster of razor-sharp formations. The crystals sing when they're about to shift. Listen. A low, harmonic hum echoed through the cavern. Marcus froze, looking around nervously. That's not dangerous, Zara said softly. That's beautiful. The crystals are stable here. She moved past him, her natural ability to read the crystal formations guiding their path. Marcus watched her graceful movements, the way her skin seemed to respond to the ambient light. He'd worked with many species during his time in rescue operations, but he'd never met anyone like Zara. Tell me about your daughter, he said as they navigated a narrow passage. What is she like? Zara smiled, adjusting Nira's blanket. She loves the singing crystals. Even as a baby, she would reach for them. The healers say she has a strong connection to the crystal matrix. Is that common among your people? Some have it stronger than others. I can read the formations, sense their stability. But Nur paused. I think she might be able to influence them someday. They emerged into a vast chamber filled with towering crystal spires. At the center, Marcus spotted the wreckage of another transport pod. His scanner beeped urgently. Life signs, he said, quickening his pace. Weak, but present. They reached the pod to find two more children, siblings by their matching features. The boy was older, perhaps 7, unconsciously shielding his younger sister with his body. Both were alive but barely conscious. We need to move fast, Marcus said, gathering the children in his arms. The crystal formation above us is unstable. Zara looked up and saw what he meant. A massive formation hung overhead, its harmonic song discordant and warning. Stress fractures spider-webbed across its surface. This way, she said urgently. There's a safer passage. They hurried through the caverns, Marcus carrying the rescued children, while Zara led them through the maze of crystal formations. Behind them, the sound of shifting stone grew louder. Almost there, Zara called out, but then she stumbled. Her foot caught on a loose crystal and she fell hard against the cavern wall. The impact jarred Nira, who began to cry. Marcus was beside her instantly, setting down the other children to help her up. Are you hurt? Zara's leg was bleeding where the crystal had cut through her suit, but she shook her head. I'm fine. But Nira, the baby's cries were getting louder, and the sound seemed to resonate with the surrounding crystals. The formations began to vibrate, their harmonic song growing chaotic. She's affecting the crystals, Marcus realized. Her distress is destabilizing them. Zara tried to soothe her daughter, but Nira continued to wail. Above them, more stress fractures appeared in the ceiling. Without hesitation, Marcus reached for the baby. May I? Zara hesitated for a moment, then placed Nira in his arms. Something remarkable happened. Marcus began to hum, a low, comforting sound that seemed to harmonize with the crystal formations. The chaotic vibrations began to settle, and Nira's cries gradually subsided. How did you know to do that? Zara asked in wonder. Marcus smiled, still humming softly. Music is universal. My mother used to sing to me when I was scared. The crystals around them began to glow more steadily, their song returning to a peaceful harmony. Zara stared at Marcus in amazement. This human, this stranger, understood her daughter better than many of her own people. As they finally emerged from the caverns with all the children safe, Zara realized something had changed between them. The shared danger, the trust they'd built. The way he'd calmed her daughter, it all added up to something she hadn't expected to feel again. The sanctuary Marcus had prepared was hidden deep within the stable crystal formations, a natural chamber that glowed with soft, warm light. He'd stocked it with medical supplies and food, creating a safe haven where the rescued children could recover. Zara watched him work with quiet efficiency, treating the siblings' injuries while monitoring their vital signs. His hands were gentle but sure, and she found herself studying the careful way he moved, the concentration on his face. They'll be fine, Marcus said, looking up from the sleeping children. Dehydrated and scared, but no permanent damage. Thanks to you, Zara said softly. She was sitting cross-legged, nursing Nira, who had finally settled into peaceful sleep. I don't understand why you do this. Risk your life for people you don't know. Marcus was quiet for a moment, checking his instruments. My sister was lost in a cave-in on Earth when I was 12. The rescue teams worked for days to find her. They never gave up, even when it seemed hopeless. He paused. They found her alive. That experience changed me. Is she still... ... She's a doctor now. Married, 2 kids of her own? Marcus smiled. She says I'm crazy for doing what I do, but she understands why. Zara shifted Nira to her shoulder, gently patting the baby's back. My people have a saying, The crystal remembers every song. We believe that acts of kindness resonate through time, strengthening the bonds between all living things. That's beautiful, Marcus said, and the way he looked at her made her pulse quicken. They fell into a comfortable silence, tending to the children and sharing simple meals. As the hours passed, Zara found herself drawn to Marcus's quiet strength. He told her stories of his travels, of the different worlds and species he'd encountered. She shared tales of her home, the crystal gardens where she worked, the ancient songs her grandmother had taught her. When Nira woke and began to fuss, Marcus was there instantly, humming the same tune that had calmed her in the caverns. The baby reached for him with tiny hands, and he let her grab his finger. "She likes you," Zara observed. "I like her too," Marcus replied, his voice soft. "She's strong, like her mother." Their eyes met across the dimly lit chamber, and Zara felt something flutter in her chest. She'd been alone since Nira's father died in the crystal mines 2 years ago. She'd convinced herself she didn't need anyone, that she and Nira were complete as they were. But watching Marcus cradle her daughter, seeing the genuine care in his eyes, she realized how much she'd been missing. "Marcus," she said hesitantly, "when this is over, when the children are safe, what happens then?" He was quiet for a long moment. "I'm supposed to return to the human sector. Report to my superiors. Supposed to." He looked at her again, and she saw something vulnerable in his expression. "I've never wanted to stay anywhere before. My job has always been enough." He paused. "But this place... you. It's different." Zara felt her breath catch. She'd been wondering the same thing, imagining what it would be like when he left. When she was alone again, with just the memories of these precious days. "My. People aren't used to outsiders," she said carefully, "but they're not unwelcoming. There are humans in the diplomatic district. Could you see yourself with someone like me?" Marcus asked quietly. "Someone who's not of your world?" Instead of answering with words, Zara carefully placed the sleeping Nira in her carrier and moved closer to Marcus. She reached up to touch his face, marveling at the different texture of his skin, the warmth that radiated from him. "I see someone who risked everything to save my daughter," she whispered. "Someone who understands that love transcends species." When he kissed her, it was gentle and tentative at first, then deeper as she responded. His arms came around her. She felt safe in a way she hadn't in years. The choice between worlds, the communication device chirped insistently, breaking the peaceful atmosphere of the sanctuary. Marcus reluctantly pulled away from Zara and activated the transmitter. Captain Voss's stern face appeared in the holographic display. "Chen, report. You've been off-grid for 18 hours, Captain. I've recovered 4 survivors from the transport accident. 3 children, and their rescue is complete. Excellent work. The shuttle will extract you in 2 hours. Pack up and prepare for departure." Marcus felt his heart sink. "Sir, there might be more survivors in the deeper caverns. I request permission to continue the search." Captain Voss's expression hardened. "Negative. The Ethrosian government has officially ended the rescue operation. You're needed for the Centauri mission. That's final." The transmission ended, leaving Marcus staring at the empty air. Beside him, Zara had gone very still. 2 hours, she said quietly. "Zara." It's your duty," she said, but he could hear the pain in her voice. "I understand." Marcus turned to face her fully. "What if I don't go? You'd be deserting your post. Would that matter to you?" Zara looked down at Nira, who was sleeping peacefully in her arms. "I won't ask you to choose between your world and mine. That wouldn't be fair." But Marcus could see the answer in her eyes, in the way she held herself, like someone preparing for loss. He thought about his life before this moment, the endless missions, the temporary connections, the constant movement from world to world. None of it had ever felt like home. "What if I told you I'd already made my choice?" He said, double quotes. "I love you," he said simply. "I love Nira. I love the way your skin glows when you're happy, the way you sing to the crystals, the way you trusted me with the most precious thing in your life." Tears ran down Zara's cheeks like liquid starlight. I love you too. But love isn't always enough, isn't it? Marcus stood and began gathering his equipment, but not in the way someone preparing to leave would. Instead, he was packing for a longer stay. My sister once told me that home isn't a place, it's the people who make. You want to stay? Your captain will come looking for you. Let him. I'll face the consequences. Marcus knelt beside her, taking her free hand in his. I'm done running from one crisis to the next. I want to build something. With you, before Zara could respond, the rescued siblings stirred. The boy Kef sat up and looked around the crystal chamber with wide eyes. Where are we? He asked in the musical language of their people. Safe, Zara assured him in the same language. This is Marcus. He saved you and your sister. The boy looked at Marcus with curiosity rather than fear. You're human. I am. My teacher says humans are brave warriors. Marcus smiled. Some of us try to be. What's your name? Kef. This is my sister Lyra. The little girl was still sleeping, curled up in the thermal blankets. Are you going to take us home? Kef asked. Marcus looked at Zara, then back at the boy. We're going to take you somewhere even better. Somewhere safe where all kinds of people can live together. Zara's eyes widened. Marcus, what are you saying? There's a new colony being established in the Harmony system. Humans and Ethrosians working together. They need people with rescue experience, people who understand both cultures. He squeezed her hand. They need families willing to start over. You've thought about this. I've thought about little else since I met you. The sound of approaching ships echoed through the cavern. Marcus stood, his jaw set with determination. That's my old life coming to find me, he said. Are you ready to help me choose my new one? Zara stood as well, shifting nearer to one arm and taking his hand with the other. Together? Together. 1 year later, the settlement of New Harmony stretched across rolling hills under twin suns. Crystal formations native to Ethros grew alongside Earth-imported oak trees, creating a landscape that belonged to both worlds and neither. In the center of town, a small house with walls of living crystal and traditional wood stood as a symbol of what was possible when two species chose cooperation over isolation. Marcus stood in the garden, teaching 5-year-old Kef how to calibrate a botanical scanner while little Lyra played with blocks that sang when she stacked them. The boy had adapted quickly to life in the mixed colony, his natural curiosity making him an eager student. The readings show the soil chemistry is perfect for both crystal growth and earth vegetables, Kef announced proudly. Excellent work, Marcus said, ruffling the boy's hair. When the children's parents had died in the transport accident, Marcus and Zara had formally adopted them. The paperwork had been complex. Interspecies adoption was still new territory, but their love for the children had never been in question. Zara emerged from the house carrying 18-month-old Nira, who was now walking and babbling in both human standard and the musical Ethrosian language. The little girl's connection to crystals had only grown stronger. She could make small formations sing just by touching them. How are the new settlers adjusting? Marcus asked, wrapping his arms around his wife from behind. Better than expected, Zara replied, leaning back against his chest. The Korban family is struggling with the gravity difference, but their son has already made friends with the human children. And Captain Voss? Zara smiled. Still convinced you've lost your mind? But he admits the colony's rescue protocols are the most effective in the sector. Marcus had faced a court-martial when he'd refused extraction from Ethros. But his successful rescue operations and the political value of the first human Ethrosian marriage had worked in his favor. Instead of prison, he'd been reassigned as colonial rescue coordinator for New Harmony. Mama, Papa, look. Nira pointed at a cluster of crystals near the garden fence. At her excited cry, they began to glow and emit a gentle, harmonious tune. She's getting stronger, Zara observed with wonder. Like her mother, Marcus said. Pressing a kiss to Zara's temple, they watched their children play in the golden afternoon light. Kef had found a new crystal formation and was excitedly taking readings while Lyra attempted to sing along with the stones. Natural frequency. Nira toddled between them, her presence making the crystal's song even sweeter. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't found her that day?" Marcus asked quietly. "No," Zara said firmly. "Some things are meant to be." The crystals sing of connections that transcend distance and difference. You and I, we were always meant to find each other. Through Nira. Through love, she was just the bridge. As evening approached, the family gathered on their porch to watch the sunset. The mixed architecture of New Harmony spread out before them, crystal spires beside Earth-style buildings, gardens where alien flowers grew next to familiar roses, playgrounds where human and Ethrosian children learned together. "Tell us the story again," Kef requested, settling into Marcus's lap while Lyra curled up against Zara. "Which story?" Zara asked, though she already knew. "How Papa saved Nira and found our family?" Marcus and Zara exchanged amused glances. It had become a bedtime ritual, the tale of how their unlikely family had formed. "Well," Marcus began, "it started with a mother's love that refused to give up, ... as he told the story. Zara watched their children's faces in the dying light. Kef's serious expression, Lyra's dreamy smile, baby Nira's bright eyes that seemed to understand more than she should at her age. This family, born from tragedy and forged in courage, had become something beautiful. When the story ended and the children were tucked into bed, Marcus and Zara stood together on their porch, looking up at the stars that held both their homeworlds. "Any regrets?" Zara asked. Marcus pulled her closer, feeling complete in a way he'd never thought possible. "Only that it took me so long to find you." Above them, the first night crystals began to sing their ancient lullabies, their music carrying across New Harmony like a promise of all the tomorrows yet to come. In the distance, other mixed families were settling into their evening routines. Humans and Ethrosians and dozens of other species learning that love, indeed, was universal. Their story had started with a rescue, but it had become something much greater, a testament to the power of choosing love over fear, of building bridges instead of walls, of believing that sometimes the greatest adventures begin when you decide to stay.